For years, the Watchtower organization has been claiming any legal victory that they have as evidence of Jehovah's blessing. Don't take it from me, here's them talking about it. Even Zizi's upset about the situation.
I think all of us would agree that it's easy to see Jehovah's hand when things are going well, when we get a court victory.
Our previous record for court victories awarded in one day was on May 3rd, 1943, when we won 12 cases in the United States Supreme Court. We praise Jehovah for these fine victories.
Brothers and sisters around the world rejoiced at this historic legal victory. But how was this possible? It was Jehovah's powerful hand at work.
Jesus Christ and the heavenly armies are ready to take the lead in defending Jehovah's people. We can rest assured that according to Isaiah 54:17, no weapon formed against us will have any success. And why? Because Jehovah is on our side.
And these claims open Watchtower up to some logical scrutiny. If you are going to say that a legal victory means that Jehovah is blessing you and evidence that he is on your side, then you have to account for when things don't go your way. When you go in there guns a-blazing, claiming that God's Spirit has got your back and the prayers of the brotherhood are helping you, well, boy howdy. What if you lose and take a massive L? Really wouldn't look too good. But at least that never happens, right? Norway, you are revolutionizing the ex-Jehovah's Witness movement. Thank you. Hello and welcome back to the JW Thoughts channel. My name is Wally and today we are looking at the legal update, what's going on in Norway, because Watchtower is officially deregistered. The injunction didn't make any difference. They're not going to get any government grants. The government of Norway basically said, get out of here, you bunch of bozos. We don't have time for your nonsense. So we're going to talk about that. But before we get into that, don't forget to drop a like on this video. It helps it get out to more people on YouTube, and I very much appreciate it. Also consider subscribing to the channel if you're enjoying this content, as there will be much more going forward in the future. With all of that being said, let's do this. So we'll just start here at the end and then work our way back for any of those that don't want to sit through the whole 18-minute video. But if you do want to get caught up to speed, you can check out this video here, which I kind of detailed the entire situation. And I felt like I did a pretty good job. And also you can go through the comment section and just say LOL to all of the people that were saying, oh, well, this hasn't actually been decided and blah, 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 blah. So that would also be kind of funny. But anyway, if we look at this court document here, and this is the conclusion, as it says at the end, it says the district court's injunction ordered of 30 December 2022 in case blah, blah, blah is revoked. What was this injunction? Well, you don't have to take my word for it, but let's look at what Mark Sanderson had to say in a previous governing body update. Zizi is very concerned about this.
On December 22nd, 2022, the authorities announced their decision to deregister Jehovah's Witnesses as a religious community in Norway. Then, on December 28, we filed an injunction application with the Oslo District Court, asking them to suspend the deregistration until the matter had been resolved by the court. On December 30th, the court granted a temporary injunction. We're very grateful to the Oslo District Court for granting this injunction. Please continue to pray for a successful outcome.
Well, that didn't work.
So after Watchtower lost their funding from the Norwegian government, which was the tune of about like $1.5 million or something, US dollars, and they were deregistered, which basically had them not being a religion, and they can't have religious ceremonies. That was their big complaint. They filed for an injunction, and the government said, okay, we don't have time to look at this now. Here, fine, whatever. Go and have your, marriage ceremonies, and we'll get back to this when we get back to it. Well, they got back to it, and the government of Norway wasn't too happy being sued by the Watchtower organization. And because Watchtower was the one that was suing them, they also had the double-edged sword of incurring legal fees for their actions. So if you look right here, you can see that it says the state will then be awarded the cost of the case and has been presented a fee claim of the Norwegian currency. I'll just call it NOK for ease, 238,400 associated with 149 hours of work, as well as covering the cost of witness statements with 2,851, a total of 241,251, which is the equivalent of, we'll do a little YouTube magic here, $22,687. So Watchtower, by suing the government of Norway, incurred even more legal fees, which is absolutely hilarious to me because they did hire one of the most expensive law firms in all of Norway in order to represent them. So not only were they having to pay one of the most expensive law firms, they're also having to pay an additional $22,687 just for wasting the state's time, essentially, and just flat out being wrong. Now, I'm going to do a separate video on this situation as well, but I did want to just throw this in here. Philip Brumley, featured in one of the montages here at the beginning, this guy, he was actually fined, he was legal counsel for Jehovah's Witnesses, over $150,000. So Watchtower's having a real rough couple of weeks here, but he was fined the $150,000 for straight up intentionally trying to mislead the court. But there's a lot of factors and things involved, so we'll cover that in a separate video. But I did just find it interesting because I think it would be worth noting how much actual money from real Jehovah's Witnesses donations are actually going to funding Watchtower being total numpties in court. So let's just combine both of these figures. So we had the, what was it? It was the $22,000 from that, and then the $150,000, so about $170,000. So if we take, let's say, the average donation of a Jehovah's Witness, in my experience, is like $25 a month or so. There's people that, do like $300 to $400 per month, and there's some that just do like $5 to $10 or something like that. So let's just say it's like $25 per person. Well, that would mean that, sorry, I'm just speed running. That's about what, 7,000 witnesses? 7,000 witnesses giving their monthly donation, and it's for a month, and it is just purely going to cover Watchtower's blunders, and that doesn't even account for the legal fees that they would have had with the group that was protecting them in Norway. So that amount is even higher. It's absolutely crazy when you step back and think, because if you went and talked to Jehovah's Witnesses and said, hey, would you be comfortable with your donations going to covering up CSA, or trying to fight the government or sue the government of Norway in order to allow you to shun people when your head PR manager still holds to that they don't shun people? I'll let Robert Hendricks speak for himself again. In a newspaper article that I will link below, there was a quote from Robert Hendricks that said, "We don't shun. Shunning would be cutting someone off and pretending they don't exist. That's just not the case." So yeah, if you asked an ordinary Jehovah's Witness, are you comfortable with your donations going to that cause? Is that what you thought you were donating to? I'm going to guess that if you got 7 congregations worth of people, I'm pretty sure they would be like, no, we definitely don't want our monthly donations going to that kind of cause. And it's worth noting because Watchtower leaders are always begging for money for their spiritual endeavors to advance the kingdom work, right? And yet, behind the back of their patrons, behind the back of the people supporting their work, they are spending money in this way. And if you asked Watchtower, what would they say? Well, I mean, that's just part of, it's all part of trying to do kingdom interests, and we just have to spend money in these ways. And yet the Watchtower leadership would no doubt try and justify it. And yet the people actually giving the money would say, no. Now, looking through some of Watchtower's arguments, there's some real bangers in here. So I did just want to cover a few of these just so that way we can have a bit of a laugh at how ridiculous and dishonest Watchtower is whenever it comes to trying to defend their faith. It absolutely is ridiculous and hilarious. Now, I'm not a legal expert. I don't have any legal training whatsoever, so we're not here to make any allegations. We are just simply here to laugh at Watchtower being goofy goobers. So let us engage upon the laughter of Watchtower. The first one that really tickled me was here when it said, "The court is asked to pay special attention to the fact that Jehovah's Witnesses do not hide their children away in special schools or keep them away from good causes in civil life, such as sports teams and more. The adults, not infrequently, have a high level of education and take part in good causes in social life." Brother, I don't know which religion you're exactly talking about here. Maybe the Watchtower lawyers got their papers confused and mixed up with like a different religious sect, but Watchtower under no circumstance can be said to have their children participate in normal social activities or even sports. There was an entire movie that they made talking about how some kid wanted to be a runner and how it was more important to focus on kingdom activities and stuff like that. They absolutely do not allow their children to participate in after-school sports, and that's for a very simple reason, because a lot of that is going to be on a Saturday morning. And what do Jehovah's Witnesses do on a Saturday morning? They go and knock on your door. It interferes with their spiritual activity, and it's just not allowed. I do not know of a single, not one, in my entire time in Watchtower, 25 years, I never met a single person that participated in team sports in school. So this argument is absolutely hilarious to me. And the real heater here is the adults, not infrequently, have a high level of education. Do we need to refer the court back to Toni Morris's talk about we give people the best education? You know, we don't get caught up in these institutions of learning.
If we are in continued association with those who do not believe the same, it can erode our thinking and convictions. Some have felt that spending time with non-believers in a university setting is no different than working secularly with those who do not share our beliefs. And in fact, bad associations in the workplace can be a real danger. However, it is one thing to work on a job with others and quite another matter to immerse oneself in an institution of learning. Back in 2005, the Faithful Slave provided counsel regarding higher education in the October 1st, 2005 issue of the Watchtower, pages 26 through 31. The article was entitled, "Parents What future do you want for your children? The cover of the very next issue, October 15, 2005, asked the question, what is the best education? You may have noticed that we've not published that thorough of a discussion on the subject since that time. Why is that? Has the governing body changed its position regarding the pursuit of higher secular education? No. We feel that all of the cautions that we have addressed in the past are still valid. However, our goal now is to focus on and intensify our promotion of the pursuit of divine education. If parents and young ones are motivated to avidly pursue divine education, the quest for higher secular education becomes less and less of an issue.
I think maybe this was the real reason Tony Morris was outed, because in his talks he contradicts all of the claims they're trying to make here. But yeah, we know that Jehovah's Witness children, if they do make a choice to go and try and receive higher education, that Watchtower will even impose sanctions on their parents. So, for instance, if someone's an elder and their child goes to university, he might not qualify as an elder, or at least he'll have to have his qualifications questioned and to see whether or not he was really putting spiritual interests first for his family. So this is just absolutely not true. But there's a couple more bangers in here, so let's get into them. Publications from Jehovah's Witnesses are rooted in the religious community's understanding of the Bible. Few specific pieces of evidence have been submitted by the state in this case which substantiate that the religious community has carried out some form of negative social control or perpetuated psychological violence in Norway, while it is contested that something else would apply in other countries. The fact that, sorry, this is translated, so it's a little bit difficult. The fact that the state refers to individual cases, preferably from abroad, cannot be indicative of the state administrator's handling of refusal of registration in Norway. It is noted that the state does not have the professional competence, let alone religious authority, to interpret the religious teachings and beliefs of a religious community. Hoo-wee! That is a good one. I like how they try and come out and just say there's no evidence to substantiate the claim about any negative social control or perpetuated psychological violence in Norway. My brother in Christ, you know that these Watchtower videos, like the one where the daughter gets disfellowshipped, is calling her parents, and the parents are like, nope, we can't answer. That is negative social control. That is psychological violence. But they're like, but it was an English, it was an English talk. There's no evidence to, can you, like, it's so stupid to think that the rules aren't the same. And obviously the court wasn't duped by any of these ridiculous tactics that they're trying to use and trying to just confuse the language and muddy the waters. But I like how whenever they are the ones suing the government, they just go they just go for the jugular. The state does not have the professional competence, let alone religious authority, to interpret the religious teachings and beliefs of a religious community. And I get maybe where you're coming from or what you're saying, but they too can read the Bible. And if it comes down to an interpretation of what something means, guess what, brother? It's going to come down to the results and the actions. And the results and the actions of Watchtower are negative social control. They are psychological violence. If their policies were true, if they were good, if they were based on the Bible, why wouldn't they be standing behind them? Why wouldn't they stand up proudly and say, well, no, at this verse, blah, blah, blah in the Bible, it says that we have to shun children that don't want to be Jehovah's Witnesses. We can baptize them at 7 years old, and if at 14 they decide they don't want to be a Jehovah's Witness anymore, never talk to them ever again. Maybe it's the Jehovah's Witnesses that aren't able to substantiate their claims, and yet they're going to the state and saying, you are not competent enough in order to understand these religious texts. Yet why aren't they able to back up their own claims? Because ask any Jehovah's Witness. Go out, ask any Jehovah's Witness. Please, justify shunning your son or daughter in the Bible. It is contrary to everything that Jesus taught. Because the answer is easy. Show them, the son that went off and was living with the pigs and everything, and he came back. And what happened to the father? He welcomed him with open arms, and the other son was jealous because he was like, oh, I have stayed with you. Jesus was the one that said we need to be exercising forgiveness. We need understanding. We need acceptance. And yet Jehovah's Witnesses are the ones that are teaching this rigid, ridiculous view of the Bible. Reading through Watchtower's arguments is like just reading an email from a narcissist that they wrote to their wife, like trying to control them or something. It is so annoying and ridiculous because the language and the tactics that they're trying to use is so easily debunked, and it's so stupid. But this is a classic example. If you look here more closely at the documentation presented by both the state and Jehovah's Witnesses, oh yes, the state, they just didn't look closely enough. When they were making this decision, no, you see, you just didn't look closely enough. The problem is not with our practices, it's with you. The state is the one. They didn't look closely enough. It's absolutely hilarious. Okay, where was I? It appears that the family ties are not broken by exclusion. I'm guessing that's just the translation for disfellowshipping. The family's normal everyday activities continue, even if a minor should be excluded from the religious community. The child naturally continues to be part of the family, and the parents will take care of their child with the responsibility that falls on them. In addition, the parents still have the responsibility to teach the child biblical doctrine. A representation that excluded children are isolated from their loved ones, lose contact with the nuclear family, or are somehow deprived of care, security, and love is therefore incorrect. A biblical and moral obligation to help excluded family members of all ages exists where the excluded person has challenges in taking care of himself both physically and financially. These idiots have made movies, they have made videos showing Jehovah's Witnesses how to properly shun people, how to shun their own children, how to kick them out of the house and not answer the phone when they call. For them to go so cuckoo to say, what are you talking about? We don't do any social isolation. We don't have any of those practices. What are you sound crazy right now. I'm so happy that the state of Norway was like, bruh, what are you guys talking about? It makes me so happy that someone just cut through all of their nonsense and got right to the heart of the matter and didn't fall for any of their sort of linguistic chicanery. Now, I won't go to a super long dissertation about the state's objections that they made to Watchtower's claims that they don't actually do any social isolation. It is actually pretty funny just watching them systematically slice through all of this, but it's most of the things that we talk about here on the channel anyway. But I did find one particular section kind of entertaining, so I will at least read that one. It's where it says, the practice of exclusion in Jehovah's Witnesses involves a strong form of social isolation against the apostates, as exhorted in the Jehovah's Witnesses' own texts, that the members should not have, quote, any spiritual or social fellowship with the excluded persons, and that one should stop associating with. Furthermore, it is stated that the members no longer have anything to do with him and we stop talking to him, and that the apostate must therefore be treated differently. Reference is made to the written evidence of this in the document collection. So basically, the state just looked at Watchtower's own writings, their own policies, the things they tell their members, and say, you are lying to us. You bunch of numpties. You are liars. Get out of here and pay us money for wasting our time. A huge dubski for ex-Jehovah's Witnesses, for apostates. Shout outs to all the people involved in helping to get this information to the state and in giving their own testimony. A lot of brave, powerful ex-Jehovah's Witness activists, real activists, not silly people like me on YouTube, that were getting laws changed and making a real difference. Hurting Watchtower in the pocketbook and getting them deregistered. So shout outs to everyone in Norway that has had a hand in having this taken care of. I might try and do a live stream with some people that were involved in that, but I'm not 100% sure. We'll just have to see how things progress and go. But anyway, that's about it for today. If you're still around, don't forget to drop a like on this video and subscribe to the channel. Stay safe, be kind, and don't forget to smile. And it's really hard to have a good-ass day because literally 2 days ago, it was 45 degrees, and today it's nearly 85. So I'm not having a good-ass day. I'm having a swamp-ass day. I should probably cut that out.